All right, guys. Well, today is Wednesday. We're getting closer and closer to coming back to school. Remember, when we return, I'm going to want you to have all your assignments. I'm going to want to make sure that you are prepared for a test on graphing trig functions. We'll probably have a review day on Monday when you come back, and then probably test pretty much right away. So make sure you're keeping up with your sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent graphs. Today what we're doing is we're starting the new chapter. If you have the notes from chapter 20 printed out, you can grab those now. Push pause if you don't. Go and print them. They are on School Loop on the calendar. I had those posted Thursday before we got out completely. So go back, find Module 20 notes, print those, and we will be ready to go. All right, so chapter 20 is all about statistics, trying to evaluate data, trying to look at how to gather data. That's what we're kind of looking at here today. So lots of fill-ins on the notes. Go ahead and get ready for that. Here we go. So population is the larger group or large group that you're trying to survey in a study. So these are the people that you're going to study. So we might possibly set up a study of students at Los Osos, so our population would be the entire student body. Now you may need to get a sample, and a sample is a subset. It's a smaller group of the population. So again, if our population is Los Osos High School, we might sample only the juniors. They would be a sample. Now what you want is you want to get a representative sample, a sample that well represents the population. So again, if we were just studying all of Los Osos, we'd want to make sure that we got students from the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior class. We'd also want to make sure that we have male and female. Again, we want to have a representative sample. But oftentimes it's impossible to study the entire population. So again, you have to study a smaller sample. This is the way presidential election polling is done prior to the actual big election, trying to figure out if your candidate has a chance to win, how they stand on certain issues. They sample a small population, smaller group, of the population, in order to try to see where the heartbeat of the nation is for that candidate. A biased sample doesn't represent the population very well, has results that don't necessarily match the views of the entire population. So you try to kind of skew it. It would be kind of like this if you read a study where dentists were being surveyed, and I surveyed only dentists that were sponsored by Crest or had some sort of tie to the Crest company, and I wanted to know which toothpaste they prefer. Well, obviously that group of dentists is going to be skewed to wanting to say Crest is the better toothpaste. So again, we might have a biased sample. Now the best way to sample is a random sample where every subject has an equal chance of being chosen. All right, and we'll talk about a few of those in just a second. A histogram is a graph. Okay, it's like a bar graph that will show frequency, number of times that something occurs, how often something occurs. It can show percentage or probability of outcomes. Each bar is the same width. And generally with a histogram, the bars are going to touch. We're going to do a lesson when you come back on histograms, how to make them, and then their percentages, and then use that to find standard deviation and the likelihood that someone might be chosen from a certain group. Capture-recapture method used when it's impossible to survey the entire population. A lot of times, people that work in the forest, so forestry people that are marine biologists, what they have to do is they have to tag and then recount, and I'll explain to you how that's done in just a minute. So you capture a subset of the entire population. You're going to release them, let them go and mingle with the entire population, then recapture again. And there's actually a formula for that. I'll give you that at the end of the video. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to decide if we have a biased survey, or I should say or not ought. So decide if we have a biased survey or not. So a telephone company about support for possible Social Security cuts is taken between the hours of 9 and 5. Well, this is the time when most people are at work. So when they're at work, they might be the ones that are most concerned about Social Security, maybe not. You're only probably contacting those that are at home. You need a more random sample. This is going to be a biased sample. Because again, we're contacting only people that are probably at home at those hours. Again, you need to find a way to get on weekends, at nights, because people work different hours. Okay. Second one, a survey about whether or not student funds should be raised for the senior prom is taken in the 9th grade English class. That's going to be biased as well. Okay. Freshmen don't even go to the prom. It's for juniors and seniors. And so to ask freshmen, 9th graders, I think that's kind of the wrong way to go. I think you would agree. All right, go ahead and turn the page. So example 2, imagine a bucket trash can filled full of M&Ms. I hope that trash can is clean. You are to estimate what percent of M&Ms are to be each color by selecting 100 M&Ms at random. What is the population? This would be the entire bucket of M&Ms. So entire bucket of M&Ms. Will the following approach give you a random sample? You mix the M&Ms and remove 100 with a scoop from the middle. I don't think there's really any way to allow my bias to come into that. I'm just getting a random scoop. So yes, I would agree that is a random sample. Ask 20 students to select 5 each. Well, if they come up and they select 5, they may select their favorite color. They may like red, and so they select only red. So yes, that is a biased sample. So again, will it give a random sample? No, will not give a random sample. Ask 20 blindfolded students to remove 5 of those each. If they're blindfolded, they can't really see what they've got. So yes, that's going to be a random sample. All right. Example 3, in each situation, would you study the entire population or a sample? Why? You manufacture light bulbs and want to check the bulbs last at least 500 hours. Well, I mean, you can't check every bulb. I mean, you'd like to, but then you have, you're selling bulbs that are already used. So I would say for that one, and I think you would agree, that you just want to study a sample of the entire population. Whereas letter B, you manufacture fuel tanks for the space shuttle and want to make sure that there are no leaks. Again, people's lives are online. You better make sure you test every single tank. So this would be, you'd want to sample the population. Okay? Now, what I want to do is I want to come back with the second half of this. Remember, YouTube kind of limits the amount of time that I put on. I really don't understand much about why that is. If I can record it, why can't I put it on there? I don't know. You guys that understand computers better than me understand. So, again, there'll be a second video here today. Go ahead and dial that one in just a second.